very distinct roles so that it is not a separate and secret behavior.
I'm glad you waited. Hi.
Hi. Phil, I was going to make a real smart remark when I first came on the air. I was going to say that those are the ugliest women I've ever seen, but I've been listening, and I feel sorry for these men, and I got a couple questions. I want to know, number one, they say they didn't choose to be the way they are. They are making a conscious choice every day to be the way they are. They're choosing to hurt their wives. They're choosing to hurt their children because they want to meet their personal fantasies. And I notice nobody wants to experience guilt. What is wrong with guilt? Guilt, you should feel guilty when you want to dress up like a woman. You should fight it, you should stop.
I spent the first 32 years of my life feeling guilty, and I'm glad now that for the last three and a half years, I can feel much better about it.
Rhonda, has suicide occurred to any of you early on?
No. Sometimes.
I thought about it as a child.
Because you were this weirdo who wanted to...
I realized I was different, and I thought it would just be easier to eliminate the problem.
It's incomplete, isn't it, the discussion about this issue without detailing the... I assume we have had suicides as a result of...
Oh, I'm sure. It's very difficult to document them because most cross-dressers are not out of the closet.
Right.
So if a cop comes in, for instance, and finds ladies' lingerie, the connection is not necessarily made.
Yeah. Hi, I'm glad you waited. Go ahead.
Hi, Phil. I just wanted to say that I think what they do is fine because I raid my boyfriend's closet all the time. So, what the heck?
You wear your boyfriend's clothes?
Sure. They look great.
But you don't see this as a particularly a psychiatric kind of behavior.
Not at all. I just think they find women's clothes attractive.
Is her boyfriend a cross-dresser, or she just wears the male
No,
clothes?
she just wears. I don't think she's just saying it's a...
Oh, okay.
So you're a tolerant person, I think, is what
I think it's great.
What's interesting is that the first two callers, who happen to be women, I think are threatened somewhat. And that's the problem that I had with my spouse. When this came out and we talked about it, she was really threatened with the idea of me wearing women's clothes, possibly being gay, losing the man that she married. And there's a lot of
the other woman
fears
turns out to be her husband.
Yeah.
How do you go shopping for your clothes? Do you dress as a woman or go in as a man?
I dress as a man.
Why don't you try on women's clothes?
I don't. I know the sizes.
Take it home and, but after trial and error, you
we
do
go
know
shopping
what size.
together.
With Bonnie and I go out as my male self, and we look through the clothes racks together. If I see something that I'm interested in, I ask her to put it on.
I know just how big it has to be on me to fit.
If it's too big for her a certain way, I know it'll fit.
But there are some cross-dressers who do go out as women, do go shopping, and do successfully buy clothing. One experience I had, and it was about 8 years ago, I went into a store, picked out something, and went into the changing room. I went all the way down the end. There must have been 12 rooms to get away from everybody, just to change. And sure enough, I was 3 rooms away, and somebody had to come to that one. Fortunately, I wasn't detected, but, you know, we do things to get our clothes in whatever manner.
Yes.
If this condition started in childhood, what did your mothers think about it? Or did they recognize that you had a serious problem?
I guess, unfortunately, at this time, my parents don't know. Usually, children who are cross-dressers are very well aware of their differences, and they overreact, the male being very masculine. And this is true of the behavior, so we're good disguisers or maskers of our feminine behavior, our feminine side.
Personally, I think if my husband came home and told me he was a cross-dresser, I think I'd kill him. And I can't believe that you didn't go for counseling. You know,
we did.
Oh, okay.
We did. In fact, we spent about a year together in counseling, and Rhonda went for an additional year. But I think the basis for our relationship is love and trust and friendship. I fell in love with a human being with certain personality traits and certain characteristics. And some of the softer side of my husband, his gentleness, his tenderness, his understanding of me and my problems, comes from the fact that he has, part of this is his nature. So it was the individual I loved, and I simply had to adjust my frame of reference to that individual.
There are many other things the husbands do. They beat their wives, they're alcoholics, they're into dope, they are professional criminals, whatever it is. There are lots of things, and this is A lot milder
But then again,
than things
your
that run
husband is
many marriages.
providing for your household. Your husband loves you. He's probably going to be a great father. You love that man for what he
I mean, it
is.
doesn't look. I mean, how do people react to you in public?
Understand, too, that there is no medical cure or solution for this, and people who have studied this phenomenon have found out that we are better off as people and individuals learning to live with and express the phenomenon. In fact, many of the people studying this area feel that we're more well-adjusted this way. Once we've come out into public, we are much more well-adjusted.
The problem is, by the
people
time
than
you
average
get
male.
over the guilt trip, you're too old to do it as well as you'd like to.
And then you got to realize we are the exception to the rule of the cross-dresser. We are here in public. We are in front of the media. Most cross-dressers are in the closet or in private groups where they cross-dress only in the privacy of their home or in these protected groups.
When you
like
read
our club.
about someone in the paper, or you read a book like Renee Richards wrote and so on, you're reading about the extreme cases within a wide range of human behavior. The quote-unquote well-adjusted, normal, happily married family man with kids in Midwest suburbia somewhere doesn't get written up anywhere. He's simply out there, and you don't know about him.
I'm glad you waited. Hi.
Yes, hi, Phil. I have a question. How come women can dress like men and act macho, and the society can accept that, and on the other hand, men cannot dress like women, and everyone rejects that idea?
May I say that one of the things that gets missed in these kinds of discussions, because when we look at these women, they shock the senses, and so we're responding to what goes on the surface, is the fact that there is really a female character inside. It is not just the dressing. These are women when they're dressed. They have a female character. Please, as you begin to understand this, keep it in mind.
Don't miss this young man's point. I think he's saying that we have a double standard in that.
No, because when women put on jeans and a sweatshirt or whatever, they're not trying to create the illusion of a man.
That's right.
When we put on our female attire, we're trying to create a female.
Yes, you are. But I think that this young man is suggesting, and he's not the first to do so, that...
Aren't the spring fashions now coming out with sequins for men and more colors for men?
No, but I think what he's saying
We're getting there.
This will only take a moment. Males, not all, but many, have an insecurity that runs mysteriously throughout their whole sexuality. And that when some of these males see this, they recoil at the thought of the millimeter away they are from perhaps this kind of behavior. I think that's one of the suggestions.
And perhaps if society gave us more license, and I mean us being all human beings, to dress as we choose and to not dictate that a particular fabric is feminine or a particular style is masculine or a particular way of sitting or behaving is genderal in some sense, but simply a matter of human behavior and androgynous, then I think many of the people who feel the pressure to hide in the closet wouldn't have to be in the closet.
I just got a question. The woman there on the left, you're a lady, right? On the left,
yeah.
okay.
I like to think so.
My point is,
Bonnie is my wife.
you don't want anybody to know who you are, right? Your husband. But now you're on television. Now you're going to put you two together.
Yeah, there is a certain element of risk as far as occupation and friends and relationships go. One last thing you should understand is that most doctors and psychologists studying this phenomena believe that the behavior is a social problem and not a mental or health problem with the cross-dresser, because it is society that has the negative feelings and the rejection about the behavior.
How do you react when you're out in public dressed as a woman and someone finds out that you're not a woman?
Very embarrassed.
What is the frequency of needing to dress like this? Does it?
Yeah, how often do you do
It varies with each individual, anywhere, like Phyllis was saying, from daily to monthly to semi-annually.
Convenience.
Yeah, that's another.
In this range, how are you feeling that day that you decide to dress as a woman? I mean, what occasions prompt you to
Generally
want to
pretty
do this?
tense, pretty nervous, problems, pressures, yes.
You also
And
do
looking
this for
forward to what
pleasure
you're doing,
reasons. It's a kick. You're talking about the risk of being out in public. That is also a high that you get. The adrenaline. You're fooling people. You're walking around.
But isn't there a fear factor here too?
Well, but it's a fear of the tightrope walker. He knows if he makes the wrong step, he's off. But if he does it right, everything is, you know, there's a terrific high of doing it right on the edge. And this is a...
But most that go out go into safe areas.
You try to be wise when you do.
You don't go out wearing after 5 and go to JCPenney for shopping.
With the fear of discovery when you're out in public, too, understand that we don't want to make a public scene or create a situation. We just want to pass and blend.
Are you there? Hi.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
I found out right before Christmas that I came home unexpectedly from shopping and I found my husband dressed up. And the thing is, he won't talk about it at all. He just told me he's not going to do it anymore.
Well, he will do it again, but you need to get him to talk.
He's got to talk.
He's got to talk because there's feelings inside of him that he's now repressing, and he needs to let them out. He needs to tell you, and he has to tell himself that he is what he is.
And the more that he, as a cross-dresser, suppresses the behavior, the more violently it will flare up.
What did he say when you
Well, he just left the house, you know, and then he came back that night, and I tried to talk about it. And he, like I said, he just told me he's not going to do it anymore.
How long have you been married?
8 years.
And this is a total shock to you. You had no suggestion of this.
None at all.
I think, Phil,
I ruined my Christmas.
You ruined your Christmas.
I understand that. Just think about it.
The caller's story is a very typical story with real tragic consequences. Probably her husband feels that if he were to reveal the extent of the cross-dressing, she would leave him. And these guys make bargains with themselves. They throw out entire wardrobes worth thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a real binge purge kind
Yeah.
of business.
So there's been no commentary on this since the incident.
No, I told him I wouldn't leave him. We talked, I talked to him, even though he wouldn't talk to me, and I told him I wouldn't leave him and that I loved him.
He's got an insecurity about himself.
I think that the caller right now is in a stage where I was 3 years ago, and I'd like to suggest something to the caller and to everyone else out there in the audience and the audience in the United States as a whole. We have support networks.
Yes.
I am part of a women's support group, a very large group. We are nationwide. The logo for Tri-Ess, which is our national organization, Chicago-based organization, will be up on the screen.
Yeah, I'll be happy to show you that.
And know that we're there, and also that there's support for your husband.
I have to break here. My apologies to you all. I'm just curious to know, you still love him?
Yes.
Your feelings about him haven't changed?
No. I'm just scared because I don't know as far as if he's homosexual at all and with disease and everything. That makes me nervous.
Yeah.
That's normal to feel that way.
Literature here suggests that he probably is not. Some are, but most are not.
Uh-huh.
You have no children?
We have one, yes.
Mm-hmm. I apologize for having to break here. I have no choice. I appreciate your call.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in